do the daily vlog, I have an idea of what I want to talk about. Having a script makes me feel like I'm tied to the words that I've already written down, as opposed to just saying what I need to say for that topic on that day. So the first part of the series was fiat and let it be done and exercising free will. And I did mention that there were elements to it that have led to more yeses in my life. What are you saying yes to? According to Erickson, which is something that I'm currently teaching now, The Stages of Development by Erik Erikson. The first stage is trust versus mistrust. And the virtue that comes from trust versus mistrust is hope. I read in a reflection once that the original sin that Adam and Eve committed in the garden was an act of mistrust. Ultimately, when they doubted God by believing what the serpent or what Satan had to say, they mistrusted. And so from that mistrust, they decided to take matters into their own hands, and here we are today. How do you recover trust? How do you exercise your free will, which is what we've all been given, in order to grow in trust? Because we've all been affected by original sin, this is like a fundamental issue we all have. And it manifests in grasping for things that we think we want, and we manipulate, and we lie, and we steal, and we do all those other things that get us to where we think we want to be. How do you grow in trust? I think it starts with a relationship. The Poco Poco podcast did a series on the litany of trust. So useful in helping me get through fiat. The book wasn't even out yet when we did fiat. Such a huge blessing to be able to have like a tangible copy of the book, which I would give to literally everyone because it's the best thing ever. Because it shows what parts of our hearts and ourselves we need to grow and trust more. But trust begins with relationship. I don't necessarily trust everyone. As I've gotten older, I don't want to say I'm jaded, but it's very difficult when you've experienced enough in your life to say, yeah, you can't really trust everyone. But I don't want to conclude, yeah, no one is trustworthy, right? That's the point. How can you keep saying a full-hearted yes if you don't trust the person you're saying yes to? And that's why Mama Mary is such a good example of fiat and of trust and surrender. She had no doubt in her heart that she was loved. She had no doubt in the goodness of God the Father. And even if you objectively look at her life through the mysteries of the Rosary and see how much hardship her yeses led her to, it still bore so much fruit. It starts with relationship, knowing who you're trusting. If all our relationships are a reflection of the ultimate relationship, which is one with God, then this is where we need to start. We need to start with a good relationship with God. And the reason I bring this up is because the readings that I've used to structure this discussion on look inward, look to the self, the higher being. And I really can't relate to that. So I'm using my own experience of my faith as the basis for my meditation. And so it's helped me conclude that relationships are where you have to start exercising trust. So going back to Erikson's stages of development, when you have consistent experiences where you can trust your primary caregiver in a state where you are helpless, right? 0 to 2 years old, that trust versus mistrust stage, you grow in the virtue of hope. You are able to hope. The opposite of hope, or if you are not able to resolve this conflict between trust versus mistrust, it's not just hopelessness, but it's fear. If you are unable to trust in the initial stages of your life and the initial relationships that you have, you will carry that as a manifestation of insecurity throughout the next 7 stages. I'm not saying like read a book, go on retreat, do like whatever to exercise trust, but what I am saying is look at the relationships that you have. How much do you trust the other person? And if you find yourself saying, oh, I don't really actually trust them beyond the obligatory I have to trust them, then it's a good indication for you to go back to yourself. And for me as a Catholic, one way that I've been able to grow in more trust is to spend time in adoration. I have to be in relationship with God, going to the sacraments, going to communion. Because even if I can argue that the familial relationships, my relationship with my dad as a reflection of my relationship with God the Father, it's not perfect. So God fills in where it is lacking, right? I'm so grateful that I'm surrounded by healthy relationships, that we're growing together. It's a multifaceted experience of my relationship with God. But ultimately, I need to build that relationship with God. What can I do? I can go back to God. So that's what I have to say about trust. I could say so much more. I'll leave it to you to check out the resources and find out for yourself if this is something for you to do. I don't want it to sound overly simplistic, but it is one place that you can start from. If you do this process, please cover yourself, pray, make sure you pray. It's been 2 years, and I think that's what the beauty of doing Fiat with the community was because we were praying for each other. This is my process, and this is what's led me to this conclusion. So I'm glad I was able to share that with you. In psychological development and in psychological, you can see I'm breaking out. Wow. Look at that.